This is the Freewell Real Travel Tripod. Now, little tripods like this are not normally the kind of ones that I use, but I gotta say, this might be small, but it is mighty. I've been using this tripod for the last few months in all sorts of different scenarios, recording YouTube videos, doing astrophotography. I went on a big train trip a few months back and it went along with me. And this travel tripod has really, really impressed me. So what's our primary specs? This is a 900 gram carbon fibre tripod with 5 leg segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Making it super compact, yet still able to come out nice and tall. With these legs, I really like how they come out. This is a bit new to me. It's not like the normal either twist locks or cams on the Manfrottos, for example. We just give it a big twist and out it comes all the way. And if I bring all of them out, you can see that my 5'8", we've got the top of a tripod quite high. So it's a very usable height with the camera. That for me is just a perfect height. Pew pew. And what I like about these legs, at full extension, a lot of your travel tripods, these last segments in particular, they start getting really thin, like little chopsticks. These are still good and substantial and quite usable. So I've been really happy with using this tripod at its full height without being too worried about these legs being too thin and weak down at this end. What I also like with the adjustment in the legs, I don't have to adjust it from the bottom foot. Let's just say I want to drop this leg a little. All I need to do is click it and then I can bring it down. So I'm not having to reach right down to the ground if I'm on an uneven surface and just wanting to get a bit more stable. You can do it leg by leg, or you can also, of course, do it from the bottom as well. We've also got a center column in here, and it's got also a nice little handy dandy hook where we can hang a camera bag off to give the tripod even more stability. Just like that. This center column, of course, will allow you to get a bit of extra height if you need it. Personally, not a great fan of using center columns unless the circumstances really, really dictate it, because as soon as you start lifting this up, we remove the 3 axis down here of stability of the feet. But what is cool about being able to raise this up is we can also invert the legs. And now there's more opportunities for some creative shots having the camera hanging underneath the tripod. So that's kind of cool. Something in this little center column which I find quite clever and impressed with. So this hook here will unscrew at the bottom. And in the end of it, we've got the little Allen key head that we need to be able to detach it. If I can find it, there we go. So we just come into these 2 holes at the top, and the clever bit is that the screws are actually captive, so you can't unscrew them and lose them. They actually stay stuck in there, which is really handy. And then once we've done that, out comes a center column, and we now have the ability to splay the legs out. So again, just giving you more options and creativity in how you might set up your shot. So having a tripod nice and low like this onto the ground, that's pretty cool. And lastly on the legs, we've got a little Apple AirTag holder. Nice bit of security, and the handy thing is that these little bolts are not the same size as this Allen key, which I'm going to come to soon, but there are all the Allen keys that you need that do come with this tripod. I just might have lost them somewhere in the time that I've had it. So onto the head. We have a very typical Arca Swiss compatible head plate, and we've got the little Allen key bolt in the bottom here, and this too, this is another one of those clever things, is that we've got this really handy little slot so you don't lose the Allen key, assuming that, unlike me, you don't attach the plate to your camera and then leave the Allen key at home. Sometimes that might be a problem. And this head plate also doubles as a phone holder. So we can actually have it mounted up here in the vertical orientation, and you can get a smartphone into there. Just like that. This head is full of functionality, maybe a touch too much. You're going to see what I mean. So from the top down, we do have our mounting screw here, but we've also got this little guy on the side. So the black one is what will affix the camera to the top. Okay. And that will lock in there like so. But we've also got this little red one. This is a pan on top of the head. I'm of two minds about it. On one hand, it is quite useful in being able to just pan from the top of the head like this, but I will admit, getting used to it, when you're going to undo it from here, if you start undoing the wrong part and now the head starts coming loose. So you just got to make sure that you're grabbing onto the right one. Now, speaking of the head coming loose, you do need to undo it all the way. It does have the little stops in there that will prevent it from actually just sliding off. So you do have to undo to get the camera off. We also have a ball head mount. So when we undo this side, now we have a lot of flexibility on how we can adjust the head. And we can apply a little bit of tension to that. So obviously there's no friction whatsoever here. We can do it up a little and make finer adjustments, and then we can lock it in. And also too, as we're spinning this around, if it starts, it's not fouling on the top of the head here, but we can actually pull this out, reposition it. So if we go to readjust again, just to be able to get a bit more leverage into it. I like that. And on top of that, we've also got a bit of a fluid head for being able to make adjustments up and down this way. Can lock that in with this arm, as well as being able to loosen off just a touch here and being able to adjust via the handle, which just gives us a little bit more control. In positioning it in the right way, we can go almost vertical and pointing straight down. And lastly, we've got the pan control from here, but we've also got another pan ability from the base itself, right down the bottom here. So this is where, I don't know, is two panning controls too much? Certainly if that hadn't have been there, probably wouldn't miss it. But there is something that, depending on how you frame the shot, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to show this properly, but let's just get the camera orientated a little strangely. Let's go like that, okay? And I'll lock the bottom one. The way the camera moves when we pan just in the top, you can see we've got this nice straight arc coming up here versus panning from the base. Now you can see it's a different movement entirely versus from up here. If nothing else, it would give you the ability to really fine tune in exactly where the camera is pointing and how it's pointing there. Now, a small downside to all of this functionality and these very small controls is if you've got big meat mittens like I do, and maybe you're doing a bit of astrophotography and you've got the gloves. It's not as though you can't not use it, but it does get a bit fiddly in a couple of areas, such as adjusting the head and getting ready to put the plate on. They're just small. It's not unusable, just something to note. As to payload for the Freewell Real Travel Tripod, the legs are capable of holding 8 kilos, but the head is rated to 5 kilos. Keep that in mind. Now, 5 kilos should look after you for most camera setups. What you're looking at here is probably about 1.5 to 2 kilos. And I've had this out shooting astro, taking 15, 20-second exposures. It has been rock solid. I haven't had any issues with tripod shake or camera movement. Of course, if you did take things to the bleeding edge, you just need to be conscious about if it's a bit windy and maybe we're going to start asking a little bit much of what this tripod's capable of. So as to size, have a look. This is compared to one of these flexible leg tripods. You can see it's not that much bigger, but let's compare it to my Surui tripod, which is not a travel tripod, let's be super clear. This thing weighs over 2 kilos, is incredibly sturdy, but you can see the height difference that we have between the two tripods. This I can't take as carry-on when I'm flying, whereas this little guy will happily fit in my One Go Light backpack, and I've been on multiple plane trips with this. It's been able to go with me on the plane as well as with my hand luggage. So I've been able to take it as carry-on with my hand luggage going above and this going under the seat in front of me. And it's allowed me to have a really, really portable setup that I've been able to rely on. Now, a couple of months ago, I took this on a 5-day train journey across Australia, and I was able to get some great astro shots on that trip. There was a bit of a moon, but that's how it goes. But why don't we just go and listen to Glenn on the Indian Pacific for a little bit? This was great last night. This, the Freewell Real Travel Tripod, carbon fibre, really light, but extends out nice and high. I can use it at full height. It is a travel tripod, so it's not heavy duty as my bigger ones. But for this trip, my bag in total weighs about 8 kilos. And I didn't want to go and throw a 2 kilo tripod on. And you can see how small this thing is. So it's been really good. I've been really happy having this one along with me. Oops. The Freewell tripod has been really good in that regard. Like I've actually been pleasantly surprised with it because my camera's not light. It's probably with the lens maybe about 2 kilos all up. And yeah, for a travel tripod, it's gone really well. All right, you're probably wondering, is there an elephant in the room? A travel-sized elephant. The Freewell Real Travel Tripod sits firmly in that mid-tier, even going maybe towards upper-tier status. By that, locally in Australia, we're talking about 400 kangaroo skins. Now, wherever you are, go price it up, but you'll find that it's not a cheap tripod. But at the same time, it's not a cheap tripod. This is quite a premium product. For me, a lot of the smaller tripods of this size that I've seen when people do my astro courses, for example, they're just really spindly and light to a fault, with the final leg segments being really, really skinny. The legs are carbon fibre, everything else is metal, there's barely any plastic to be seen. And I've knocked this thing around. It has travelled with me now quite a lot, thousands of kilometres around this country, and it's still going strong. So a big thanks to Freewell for sending me this tripod. I really appreciate their support and also their patience. This has taken me longer than it should have, but you can find the Real Travel Tripod linked below. Go and check it out.